James, so much time has passed. Something's happened. Please come back to our place. Love, Mary.
Hello? Can anyone hear me?
You're not from here, are you?
I'm looking for someone.
Everyone got sick in Silent Hill. You really never heard about any of this? James.
We have to get to her before it's too late.
You did it, didn't you, Jimmy? You woke him up.
All the darkness, you can't keep it away.
Where is she?
No one said it would be easy.
What you're doing, it won't be enough to save her. You don't know what kind of hell you have to face.
Mary. They keep telling me to move on. No matter what it takes, I won't let go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Fresh Cuts. This is Mike. Joining me, as always, it's Mr. Venom. What's up, Venom?
Greetings and salutations, horror gamers. And yes, I do count myself among those numbers, as I've been playing horror games for, wow, what feels like almost 40 years, probably since Phantasmagoria on the Sega CD. You could even make the argument for Castlevania, since it is technically a Dracula game, calling that one a horror game. And what was it, Ghosts and Goblins or Ghosts and Ghouls? That was always a good early one. But yeah, big time horror gamer. So had some expectations about this movie, and yeah, we'll talk about if they delivered or not.
Okay, also with us is Don and Ellie. What's up, Don?
Yeah, what's going on? Always happy to be here.
All right. I also consider myself, well, I don't know. I would say I'm much less of a gamer now than I used to be just due to lack of time, but the games that this was kind of, I guess you can quote unquote say based on, I did play. I haven't played the Silent Hill 2 remaster, but I did play Silent Hill 2 back in the day when it was originally released. So I remember some of the story, not all of it. So we'll probably get into some of that obviously during our discussion on it. But if that gives it away, yeah, we're doing Return to Silent Hill. We had a couple options, but we went with the theatrical release. So yeah, let's see. When a man receives a mysterious letter from his lost love, he is drawn to Silent Hill, a once familiar town now consumed by darkness. We'll start with general thoughts. Venom, you're up first, and I'll just ask for your general thoughts. Was this one largely based on Silent Hill 2?
Largely, it is Silent Hill 2. It's almost identical.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's what I thought. It's just that I haven't played it since it originally came out. So it's like I recognized some stuff, but couldn't remember if it was like literally the story or if they added other stuff in. But okay, so with that, Return to Silent Hill, what did you think?
All right, well, folks, I actually saw this movie late. I just saw this yesterday as we're recording this. It's Thursday, January 29th. So I saw this on Wednesday, which is a full 6 days after its original release. And during those 6 days, I saw just so much piss and vinegar being thrown around about this movie, how absolutely awful it was, just terrible. So potentially my lack of expectations may have kind of tainted my thoughts on the movie a little bit, but this is also coming from, as I've already said, a hardcore horror gamer and someone who absolutely adores Silent Hill 2. I played the original, I played the remake, I got all 6 endings on both original and the remake. I absolutely love the game, one of the most atmospheric horror games ever. So, and one last thing I'll point out before I talk about the movie is, those of you who don't know me don't know that I absolutely love being the voice of dissension. I absolutely I get a kick out of being one of the only people that either likes or hates a movie that is universally loved or hated. And I get to continue that streak again today because, folks, I did not hate Return to Silent Hill. Yes, it's an incredibly slow movie. Yes, if you've never played Silent Hill 2, you probably think it's slow, it's boring, it's stupid, and I'm not going to argue with those people. But as a hardcore fan of Silent Hill 2 and the whole Silent Hill franchise, I mean, 1 and 2 are kind of the masterpieces, and then 3 was still solid, and then you start getting diminishing returns until the new one, Silent Hill F, which was kind of a return to form for the franchise. So, but that's all discussion for my video game podcast, which is non-existent. Back to Silent Hill, or back to Return to Silent Hill. As I said, I didn't hate this movie. Is it great? No, hell no. Is it even good? You could make the argument that it's not good either. I could make the argument that it's not good. But what you have to understand is, when I watch movies like this, it's a lot of eye rolling and the cringe moments that make me dislike the movie. And guess what, folks? I didn't roll my eyes once while watching this movie. The hour and 46 minutes of this film, I didn't roll my eyes once. I didn't cringe at any of the line deliveries. Yes, there's stuff from the game that wasn't included in the movie that I wish would have been. But again, as with any video game movie, video games are usually anywhere from 8 to 12, 13, 14 hours of content, of gameplay, of story, of everything. And then you have to cram that into an hour and 46 minutes. So a lot of important stuff is going to get left out. And I understand that, you know, a lot of what was left out might be why this movie is getting such terrible reviews. This movie is incredibly slow. It is not filled with monsters. It is not a jump scare factory. And I think, especially after the first 2 movies, which, by the way, I hated, if I haven't mentioned that already, I hated the first 2 Silent Hill movies. And maybe because of those low expectations, I kind of enjoyed this one, because I just didn't see a lot of what people were hating about this movie. I didn't think it was poorly directed. I didn't think it was poorly acted. I didn't think it was poorly written, though the writing is kind of weak at certain points, but, you know, I'll leave that alone for now. My point being, as I'm walking out of the theater from watching this, I'm just wondering where all the hate is coming from. And I'm sure my co-hosts will probably enlighten me, because I can't imagine that either one of them liked this movie as much as I did. But yeah, I thought this was the most atmospheric, cinematic Silent Hill. It probably recreated the atmosphere of Silent Hill better than any of the 3 films in the franchise. I love the sparse use of the creatures in this movie. I know with the first 2 movies, you know, there are so many like bombastic, over the top set pieces that I think a lot of people were expecting that with this one. And I was very happy with the subtle use of the monsters. We just get a little bit of the bubblehead nurses. We get a little bit of the lying bodies. We get a little bit of Pyramid Head. We get a little bit of the mannequin. We don't get a whole lot of the creatures. And I know that's probably why a lot of people are talking down about this film. It's not as exciting as playing the game, and it's definitely not as over the top fun as the first 2 films. But like I said, I am a fan of slow burns. Obviously, I like when my slow burns have a bigger payoff than this one. And now, obviously, being incredibly familiar with the movie, I knew where the story was going. I was kind of hoping that maybe they would have come up with a different ending, but of the 6 endings that are available in the video game, I'm glad they went with this one. It's the one that feels the most cinematically viable. If you know of all the 6 endings for this movie, a couple of them are just goofy as shit and just change the whole context of the game. So I'm obviously glad they didn't go with that. And then some of the other endings have this big bombastic boss fight at the end with, one of the characters, one of the people that James works with actually turning into a creature and having a big old fight at the end. I'm also glad they didn't go with that ending. For those who actually played the games and didn't see the movie, if you are familiar with all the endings, they went with the rebirth ending. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about the ending, but if you know the game and you know all 6 endings, they went with the rebirth ending, which, like I said, it's the one that feels the most cinematically viable. Now, it also does leave non-fans scratching their heads, wondering what the fuck did I just watch? And was there even a point to it, considering how the movie wrapped up at the end? Honestly, I couldn't answer that question for you. All I can talk about is my experience watching the movie. I had a good time with it from the beginning to end. I'm not going to say that I had felt any real sense of dread or, sustained tension or anything. But like I said, visually, this was probably the best representation of Silent Hill. And the fact that they went with the storyline from arguably the best Silent Hill game just makes me more interested in it. Now, is this going to even sniff my top 10 at the end of the year? Hell no, not at all. This movie is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. As I've already said, you could make the argument that it's not even good. But in my opinion, like I said, I had a good time with it. Maybe, like I said, my expectations might have been lower because of all the reviews and everything that were out for the 6 days before I actually got to see the movie. But for whatever it's worth, this movie worked for me. The sparse use of the creatures, the more kind of psychological thriller aspects of it that, I had almost forgotten about because I haven't played the Silent Hill remake since it came out, which was almost 2 years ago now. So it's been a little bit. But just like I said, I am happy to be the voice of dissension for all the film reviewers that are calling this movie terrible. A reviewer, an actual professional reviewer that I respect, literally called this movie a piece of shit. Exact words, piece of shit. Now, you might agree with that opinion, and that's fine. But for an actual movie reviewer, a professional, somebody who's actually getting paid to do this, to actually say that, I lose respect for that person instantly. And it's not just because I like the movie. Even if I agreed with them that the movie is a piece of shit, I generally probably, at least if I was getting paid to review movies, I don't think those words would ever escape my mouth. I would try to find some more sugar-coated words. But my point being, if I'm a single man on a lonely island enjoying this movie, then so be it. I will be that guy. And I will say that I had a good time with Silent Hill. If you liked Silent Hill, if you played Silent Hill 2, that's not a guarantee that you're going to like this movie. Not at all. I'm sure Mike will have an opinion on that one since he has played Silent Hill 2. But just because you've played it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to like it. It's just the way that I judge my movies, the way that I judge my movie-going experience. I did not hate this movie. This is not one of the worst. It's not even the worst movie of the year for me. I've seen worse. And what am I up to? I'm up to 12 movies for 2026. And this is not the worst of the bunch. So I'm going to say I enjoyed Silent Hill, though it does seem like most people don't enjoy it. So obviously take my review with a grain of salt, and I'll leave my general thoughts at that for now. Back to you, Mike.
Okay, let's kick it on over to Dawn for your thoughts on Return to Silent Hill.
All right. See, yeah, I'm not really the target audience for this one. I didn't know the original Silent Hill was a video game until the credit popped up on the screen, adapted from the video game. So, my gaming skills pretty much begin and end with Candy Crush and Gardenscapes. That's pretty much where my gaming career lies right now. So I don't really have any interest or basically background awareness of even what is a video game adaptation, what's not a video game adaptation. That's pretty much all I have. So I like the first one, but it's not like it's a major classic or anything. It's I like it for what it is. It's okay. The atmosphere is good. The visuals are fine. A little long for what it is, but again, it's not something that I'm gonna die on a hill on, or I'm gonna take a stand and say it's an overlooked gem or a masterpiece or anything like that. Two, to be honest, I don't even remember it. I remember I there's a review of it out there under my IMDb account. Whether or not I can actually verify that those occurred, you got me. I saw it once when it came out, and then I've never returned to it. So I am not really major fan of the Silent Hill franchise. Again, I'm somebody that doesn't even really know that much about it. So with this one, again, it's not something that I'm all that intimately aware of. And so much of that relies on the fact that it feels so much like a video game that you need to have advanced knowledge of the video game to know what's going on here. And you don't really get that. You don't really have a whole lot of, you know, I guess you could say, explaining the plot for the idiots in the back kind of a thing, where you don't really have these long scenes where you have the plot spelled out for you. Yeah, you can kind of infer what's happening based on what's you get the idea of the guy coming there. You see bits and pieces here and there about where his search is leading, but yeah, it doesn't really feel like it's designed for somebody that has no knowledge of the game, or somebody that you're not really going into it because you're a fan of the game. You're going into it because it's something to watch, and you're not really familiar with the IP. You don't really know what the basic gist of the story is, other than town out in the middle of the nowhere, surrounded by fog with giant monsters roaming around. Like, that's basically your general idea of what Silent Hill is. This doesn't really do a whole lot to really bring that type of a person in, and that's kind of where I stand. Does it look good? Yeah, I love the visuals of this. I think the town is incredibly atmospheric. I love the way it looks. I love the way the camera moves around it, and I love the way it makes everything just feel like you're gonna have something jump out at you, but it never does, because like Venom said, this is decidedly not a jump scare factory film. This is far more. It kind of borders more on like a thriller, just based on how everything plays out, rather than going for like the straightforward horror film. It's just yeah, there's creatures and monsters and all kinds of stuff running around, but yeah, there's really not much else. I think beyond just the cool looking visuals and the atmosphere and the aesthetics of it. The pacing is really, really sluggish. This could have definitely, I don't think you could really tighten it, but I think you could probably have everybody emote at a faster tempo. Like, it feels like everybody's acting at like a 4 or a 5, and I think if you had this exact story and you put everybody up to maybe a 6 in terms of their energy, I think you could probably have gotten this done a little bit faster with a little less lag to it. Not, the film feels good for what it is, but it just needs a little extra tempo. And maybe that means leaving the attack scenes a little bit longer, maybe putting a little bit more of them in there, instead of this guy trying to go around getting all these information dumps. And maybe that could have helped the film. But overall, I can't say it was one that I hated, but it's not one that I'm really going to be looking forward to revisiting. Or I mean, maybe if I even do revisit it in the future, because I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the franchise as is, so I can't imagine I would be in a big rush to go back and revisit one that doesn't really feel like it's made for non-fans of the franchise. But I can't say it's not worth a watch because everything looks good. It's a good theater watch. The town looks amazing. The whole thing is incredibly eerie and it looks the part, and that's definitely worthwhile. So yeah, give it a shot if you have some knowledge, but for the most part, unless you have some kind of theater equivalent, home service, this is definitely one that you can skip and wait for streaming because yeah, unless you know what's going on and the story of the video game and you know where everything stands, nothing's really going to make much sense and nothing's really going to come together all that well. So, um, trying to think what else. I mean, the gore looks okay, but again, it's not really one that's designed for that. It's kind of not really like a gore heavy kind of a film. But yeah, other than that, I can't really think of much else to add. Trying to think of anything, but yeah, I guess uh, maybe that could be a spoiler. But even still, I guess I'll just say back to you, Mike.
All right, so going into this, my expectations weren't really that high just because the other ones were pretty bad from memory. I've only seen them once, never cared to revisit them. I am a fan of the early Silent Hill games, at least the first three, two being the best or my personal favorite. So going into this, my expectations were already kind of like medium just because one, video game adaptations usually tend to not be good. And then two, both the Silent Hill movies we already got, I wasn't very high on. So this one, I guess I would, based on memory, because one, it's been a week since I've seen this and years since I've seen the other ones. I would probably say overall this is the best of the three adaptions. The strength of this one to me is it looks like Silent Hill, like it looks like the video game, and not in a way of like it looks like you're watching a literal video game, but they just get the look of Silent Hill down really good when he first shows up to the town and he's kind of walking through it. That was pretty good, like a pretty impressive. I do like the subtleties in the use of the monsters in this, where it's not just like let's throw 100 CGI monsters on the screen at a time, and because I think Silent Hill, like versus a Resident Evil type game, I think one of the big differences is Silent Hill it goes a lot more for atmosphere and dread than Resident Evil, which tends to side on like zombie action, especially in later chapters. But even early Resident Evil, you could say is more of like a shoot zombies game. Where Silent Hill, it's like you do have weapons and you do have ammo and all that, but you do like a lot of like running and avoiding,
Hmm.
and just kind of like the overall, yeah, dreadful atmosphere of the Silent Hill games. I think this one really captures that. Now, like to Don's point, if you're not familiar with the video games at all, I think that the story could come off a little jarring because the way characters introduced, character motivations, their backstories, it's like you got to take into account they're like condensing what like a 25-hour campaign story into what is it, a nearly 2 hour movie. I can't remember the exact running time, but so there's probably going to be like obvious corners being cut to fit everything in. Um, I still don't think it was like that good of a movie, but if there was a Silent Hill movie for that I'd recommend people give a chance to, at least just for the look of it, it would be this one for sure. I'm trying to think of what else I can add that neither of you guys said because I kind of agree with both. Like it's not, it's I don't agree with the people saying like, oh, this is the worst movie they've ever seen or that kind of like over the top reaction. But it's like I also don't think it's that good. So I would say that this movie is probably best for fans of Silent Hill, particularly Silent Hill 2. that as you're watching it, it can invoke memories of like playing the game, and you're kind of judging it on like, oh, I like how they, did this character here and put this building here, and oh, look, it looks just like the game here. I think on a baseline level, fans of the game will get that out of it, whereas people who aren't familiar with the games, that aspect's not going to be there. And without that aspect, I think the movie will come off a little worse just because it is kind of slow paced in its delivery. But again, that's the way the games are by design. Like it's intentional the way the games are supposed to be. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I actually kind of like that about Silent Hill games is the way they present the horror in them. But I don't have a whole lot more to say just because like some of my memory of it has faded only because I saw like on opening night and we're recording a little later this week. So I guess I'll leave my general thoughts there for now. So yeah, it was okay. Like I would say don't pass up on it just because you didn't like the other Silent Hill movies. Give this one a chance, at least for the visuals alone and atmosphere. So I'll send it back to you, Venom.
Mike makes a valid point about the differences between, say, the Silent Hill franchise and the Resident Evil franchise. Silent Hill, even though Silent Hill definitely has its fair share of creatures in it, especially with some of the later games where it gets a little overboard with the amount of creatures, it's not about creature action, whereas Resident Evil is absolutely an action-based game. It's meant to be killing zombies, killing monsters, killing the tyrant at the end, blah, blah, blah. This one, even though there are still a lot of set pieces in the game where you have to fight creatures, obviously it's a video game, you have to put something for the gamer to do in there. I felt like the Silent Hill games were never about those interactions, especially because Silent Hill is a game where you don't even have to fight the creatures if you don't want to. You can literally run by a lot of them. If you're, obviously you have to be somewhat skilled to be able to run by some of the creatures, especially Pyramid Head. But the point is you can avoid some of those confrontations in the game. So it makes sense to me that the movie isn't the most action packed. As I've already said, I kind of genuinely liked the sparing use of the creatures in it. We basically get to see the creatures once or twice. I think we get 2 scenes with the nurses, 2 scenes with the lying figures, maybe 1 extended scene with Pyramid Head, and maybe just a quick shot of them again later in the film. 1 scene with the mannequin. That's the spider scene. If you remember the scene where that woman turns into a spider, that's one of the mannequins. So the fact that they didn't put all the other creatures in the movie, the Merry Monster, the Abstract Daddy, the Flesh Lip, the Mandarin, I'm okay with. And one thing that no one's actually mentioned yet, which I'm actually kind of upset with myself that I didn't mention it, is the score of this film. I absolutely love Silent Hill scores. Silent Hill 3 actually has my favorite score of all the Silent Hill games, but Silent Hill 2 would probably be my second favorite as far as the score. And what's funny is that a couple of the songs in this movie are actually reprises of actual songs that were used in Silent Hill 2, specifically the end credits song. So that warmed my heart instantly because, like I said, I absolutely adore Silent Hill scores. The soundtracks, I actually owned like 3 or 4 of the soundtracks for a little while. I actually owned Silent Hill 3 on vinyl, that score, just because I loved some of the songs on that one. But yeah, I definitely forgot to mention that I absolutely enjoyed the score. The subtle piano music that's playing throughout different scenes in the film absolutely worked for me. And then the actual like kind of alt pop songs that were used in the original Silent Hill 2 that were kind of reprised for this movie absolutely warmed my heart, like I said. So yeah, I agree with a lot. Honestly, I agree with almost everything that's been said by both of my co-hosts. This movie is not for everyone. And we can see with the 18%, the current 18% that this movie has on Rotten Tomatoes, obviously shows that this movie is not for everyone. And as I mentioned earlier, even if you are a fan of the Silent Hill 2 video game, this movie still might not work for you. And I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not going to argue with anybody who says this movie's terrible. If you think it's terrible, fine, it's terrible to you. But to me, it 100% was not terrible. I had a fun time with it. Even though I knew all the twists and turns that were coming, even a bunch that were left out of the movie, but ultimately, I was very happy with the presentation I was given. I enjoyed the movie. The effects weren't jarring since they didn't abuse any of the creatures in the movie. Because that's how I felt with the first two movies. Is that like in the second movie, you see Pyramid Head so fucking much that he just loses his power. Like, it doesn't matter by the end of the movie. Oh, there's Pyramid Head again, Whereas in this one, we get one badass scene with Pyramid Head fighting the mannequin, which was actually really, really cool. And then later on, Pyramid Head actually does, take out one of the characters that James is working with throughout the movie, our main character, James Sunderland. And all the names have remained the same from the video game: Mary Crane, James Sunderland. The biggest major difference is that in the video game, James and Mary are actually married. They've been married for 3 years at the time of Mary's death. Whereas in this movie, they never actually tied the knot. They were just dating. They were living together in Silent Hill when he decided to leave because of events that he witnessed, in the movie. But, we'll get to that during the spoiler section. But yeah, as I said already, and I'll probably reiterate multiple times throughout this review, I did not hate this movie. I ended up mildly enjoying it. And maybe there's no maybe about it. I'm definitely in the minority on this one. And I'm okay with that, ultimately. If this is a movie that only me and like one other person from Wisconsin actually enjoys, then rock on. The movie's got 2 fans, so that's more than some movies have. So I'll give it that. Ultimately, there's not much else I can say that wouldn't delve into spoilers. And obviously, if you've played the Silent Hill 2 game, there are no spoilers. The movie doesn't really change much of the storyline. Like I said, it omits a few things. Specifically, I wish they would have done more with Eddie. Like, we actually do get to see Eddie in the movie for one scene, but he's a bigger character in the game, and he's actually a very shitty human being, which is why I kind of wanted to see more of him in the movie. But, obviously, again, as I've already said, and Mike reiterated, when you have a game with 8 to 12 hours of gameplay and you shrink it down to an hour and 45 minutes, it's going to lose a lot. It's the same thing with books. I mean, for those who like Stephen King's that's Stephen King's longest book. I think it's somewhere like 1,100 or 1,200 pages. It's literally his longest book. And to adapt it to film, you're going to have to sacrifice so much. And even though when they redid it in 2017 and 2019, they cut it into 2 chapters so that we could actually get more from the book, there was still a lot missing. I mean, hell, the orgy. I don't think anybody will ever put the orgy on film from the It book. But yeah, if you know, my friends. So I guess I'll go ahead and turn it over to my co-host to see if there's anything else they want to mention that's spoiler free before we get into our spoiler filled discussion on the movie. So, gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
I'm good. All
right. Well, again, there's not really, if you've already played the game, you know the story. James Sunderland is, our main character. At the beginning of the movie, he receives a letter from his love, Mary. By the time he receives the letter, they've been split for a while, and it's begging him to go back to Silent Hill. Now, he goes back to Silent Hill. He starts meeting all of these characters that do have a connection with each other and another character in the movie, which we'll get to. But he's going through the town of Silent Hill, going through all these different encounters with creatures. And this is both for the video game and the movie. He's trying to piece together the mystery of what happened to his wife slash girlfriend, and what he can do about it, because in the letter it sounds like she's asking for help. She's asking him to come back to Silent Hill, and it sounds like she needs help, like she's desperate. But obviously, if you know, you know. So again, I'm going to skip all the middle and just say there's multiple encounters with different creatures. The lying figures are going to be the first thing. And Mike had a valid point about, if you are a gamer and you're very familiar with Resident Evil 2, even if the scenes in this movie don't necessarily work for you from a visual standpoint, the fact that they remind you of certain scenes from the game, like the very first time that James runs across a lying figure, the very first creature that he runs into in Silent Hill, that is such a tense and atmospheric scene. And yes, admittedly, it's a little toned down in this one, but it's just the fact that it reminded me of that great set piece from the original game just kind of made me like the movie slightly more, things like that. So anyway, by the time we get to the end of the movie, we find out that all of the people that James has run into in this town, which include Angela, Maria, Laura, a little girl named Laura. As it turns out, all of those people are actually different parts of Mary's psyche. Basically, James is not well in the head. And as it turns out, the big reveal of both the game and the movie is that James himself killed Mary. And it's very similar to Late Night with the Devil, where it's a mercy killing. Mary ends up getting sick from some unknown disease. Like, it's never named, to my knowledge, it's never named in the game or the movie. And she's in great pain by the time he returns to Silent Hill, and she's barely clinging to life. And she asks him for mercy, which he then gives to her. So just like with David Dashmelian's character in Late Night with the Devil, he forgets the fact that he mercy killed his wife, and maybe on a little bit grander scale than Dashmelian. Dashmelian might have just blocked it out in Late Night with the Devil, whereas here James flat out forgot, to the point where he thought Mary was still alive and returned to Silent Hill to go get her. So there you go, folks. That's the gist of our story, and it's really just about how the set pieces in this movie work for you. And I can see why this movie is getting so much hate, because there's not a lot of creature action in this movie. If you're a big creature feature guy like Don and myself, there's not a whole lot here for that. There's not these big set pieces, Pyramid Head's not chasing James all throughout this town. In fact, like I said, we only get 2 scenes with Pyramid Head, one where he fights the mannequin, and then the other one when he actually kills Maria. And by the way, when I say that all the characters that James runs into in this movie are different elements of Mary's psyche, Angela is the cautious one, the one who is very distrustful of people, doesn't really want to let people in. Maria is the Spitfire. She's like the very overly sexualized and very boisterous, very vocal character. And Laura, being a young girl, she's like the innocent aspect of Mary, the fact that Mary doesn't want to be involved in a lot of what her family has gotten her involved in. As it turns out, Mary's father was actually a cult leader in the town of Silent Hill, and he may potentially be the reason why the shit hit the fan in Silent Hill. Now, I mentioned earlier that Silent Hill 2 does have 6 different endings. One of the endings actually is fucking aliens. Yeah, literally one of the endings blames all the events in Silent Hill to aliens. So all the creatures in the movie are actually fucking aliens. And I always hated that ending because I'm not a big fan of aliens in general. So I'm very glad they didn't go with that ending. But the ending that they did end up going with was the rebirth ending. And in that ending, at least in the video game, after James finds Mary's dead body, or decayed body at this point, since she's been dead for a while, He puts her on a boat. They go and row out to the middle of the lake at Silent Hill. And then you hear a single gunshot, which of course implies that James took his own life. Now, in our movie, they did a version of that where James finds Mary's, the decomposing corpse, takes the body with him into his car, his very nice Mustang. And in the movie, he actually drives off a cliff into the lake with the intention of, obviously, committing suicide so that he could finally be with Mary. But in the movie, they play more with the rebirth aspect of that ending, where basically the movie resets and we go back to where James first meets Mary at the bus stop, but James still has all his memories of all the events that happened in Silent Hill. So he makes a different decision. Rather than driving Mary back home, meeting all of her friends and starting a relationship with her, he basically tells her, "Oh no, you're trying to leave Silent Hill, right? So let's just go. I wouldn't be a gentleman if I didn't drive you to the next town that you're going to." So obviously, that ending could be interpreted multiple ways. Is that just James' psyche towards the end of his life trying to justify or trying to correct the mistakes that he made throughout the events of Return to Silent Hill? Or do we take it as legitimate, as maybe the lake waters, because they talk about the water in Silent Hill multiple times, how it's been contaminated. All the people that stayed in Silent Hill and continued drinking the water, ended up mutating or dying, blah, blah, blah. So, it's kind of implied that maybe the lake has some kind of powers. So if you take the ending literally they're transported back to the day that they met, and instead of going to Silent Hill, he drives away from Silent Hill. And if you notice too that when they repeat that original scene, there's no storm this time. Like in the first scene, when he says, "Oh, I'll walk you back to Silent Hill, or I'll take you back home," a storm starts up right away. All these storm clouds roll in. But at the scene at the end of the movie, when James is like, "Oh, well, I wouldn't be a gentleman if I didn't take you to your destination after, running over your suitcase," no storm clouds. The weather stays nice and temperate, and then they just drive off into the sunset. So, you could take it literal, you could take it as a metaphor. Either way, that ending worked a lot better for me, because I sure as fuck didn't want to see the Mary monster, the creep. I don't know if Mike remembers the ending with there were two different endings where you had to fight the Mary monster at the end. Yep. Once it was Mary and once it was Maria. But it looked, because Maria and Mary looked the exact same, they're actually played by the same actress in the movie. There's that dichotomy there of, is it Mary? Is it Maria? They're the same person. Obviously, they're just different elements of Mary's, personality, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the movie. Obviously, we've already talked about, the atmosphere. We've talked about the visuals of the movie, which I absolutely love. May be a stretch, but I genuinely enjoyed them. I thought the bubblehead nurses looked great. I thought the way that they reacted, was very much like the video game. So that made me happy. We only really got a couple of the lying figures, and they actually added something, because the lying figures spit out some kind of black acid in this one. I don't remember them doing that in the game, but maybe they did, and I just don't remember. But yeah. I actually like that element of it, because it adds that extra sense of danger, because in the game you could just run right by them. The lying figures can't really run. I mean, they can barely see for that. They don't really have eyes. So yeah, again, like I said, for whatever it's worth, this movie worked for me. It's not going to work for everybody. I'm sure most of the people listening to my voice right now who have already seen the movie probably hate it and are calling me names right now through their iPhone. But ultimately, I'm going to unapologetically say I still had a good time with this movie. It gave me what I wanted from a Silent Hill movie, and that's subtle horror, psychological horror, and an ending that's satisfying to me. Whether the ending was legitimate or just, like I said, a Flatliners type thing where it's just Wait, is it Flatliners or Jacob's Ladder? I always get those two movies confused. But where it's basically someone's dying thoughts turned into like a whole scene or a whole series of scenes. I think that was Jacob's Ladder, actually. So yeah, again, what can I say? I enjoyed it. I'm not sure if Mike or Don want to chime in on some of the things that didn't work. I mean, they've already gone with their general thoughts and talked about what didn't work for them, but I don't know if they want to go into more details on, maybe hating any other creatures, hating any of the characters. Like I said, because they don't utilize Eddie the way that they do in the game, he's almost a throwaway character in this movie. Like literally, Eddie didn't even need to be there. He doesn't add anything to the film. Obviously, if you're a gamer and you remember all the shitty things that Eddie did in the video game, it's good to see him in there. I just wish they would have done more with him. But then, of course, you're talking about a 2-hour plus movie at that point, and who the hell wants a 2-hour plus Silent Hill movie? I don't even want that. So there you go. But yeah, I don't know what else I can really say. I unapologetically enjoyed it. I don't know that it's anything that I'll ever return to. It's not like I'll be in the mood to watch this again ever, unless I revisit the game, which likely won't happen anytime soon because I'm neck deep in Borderlands 4 right now. So that's probably where my video game passions will be for at least the next month, playing through Borderlands 4. But yeah, I guess back to you, Mike. I'm not sure what else I can really add to this.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot of spoiler talk just because I feel like for people who played the game, it's like, yeah, it's the game. Like,
Yeah.
it's versions of the game. I mean, I guess you can have an opinion on did they go for too happy of an ending, unless unless it's not literal, it's only like implied. It's kind of like more like a fever dream ending of like dying thoughts of what could have been a happy ending. I guess if you take it that way, then it's not exactly happy. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's not really much to say for spoilers, really. I did like you mentioned the black goo or whatever it was they were spitting out. Yeah, that was pretty cool. And the fact because the town was like covered in that mist and snow, that was a cool effect.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely looked like, for those who don't know, Silent Hill, the town of Silent Hill is based on Centralia, Pennsylvania, which, for those who don't know, is a town that was on top of a coal mine. And one day back in the 60s, somebody either threw a cigarette down a crevasse or something like that, or they set fire to some garbage. Well, what ended up happening is the coal mine itself set on fire. So literally the coal mine, which took up the entirety of the underground of Centralia, caught on fire and smoke started coming out of the ground. So literally, if you go to Centralia today, which does still exist, I don't think anybody actually lives in the town anymore because it's been deemed toxic because of all the coal fumes. But that fire is still raging to this day. They estimate that it's going to go on for at least another 6,000 years because of all the coal that was in that mine. They also expect that within a couple of 100 years, the ground is going to give way and the town is just going to fall into a giant sinkhole, which who knows? I doubt we'll be alive to see that, but that would be pretty cool. Just because I lived in Pennsylvania for a little while, I lived less than an hour away from Centralia. I never actually went, but I did watch multiple documentaries about the town, and it is fascinating to watch. If anybody is a documentary fan out there, look up documentaries about Centralia, Pennsylvania. It's pretty fascinating, honestly. But again, Return to Silent Hill. What can I say? Not a perfect film. Even though I enjoyed it, I'm still going to say that it's not remotely a perfect film. It's barely a good film, in all honesty. And if you hate it, I'm not going to argue with you because you probably have a lot of valid reasons to hate this. So I'm okay with it. So yeah, I guess it's on to the next movie. So I'll turn it back over to Mike for our goodbyes.
Yeah, our next movie, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Send Help, correct?
Woohoo!
Raimi is back with R-rated horror. So
I'm excited. And the movie, I accidentally saw like a piece of the trailer. I don't know the full story necessarily, but I saw like the tail end of the trailer, and it has Your Next vibes in it. So I'm kind of excited about that. So let's see. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, we're also getting an indie horror in space called Iron Lung, which I guess
Yep.
could be a backup because I'll probably end up seeing both. I think I'm going to
Yeah,
be
same.
seeing Send Help Friday night and then Iron Lung Saturday morning or sometimes Saturday. So just in case, but
Mhm. I'm seeing I'm seeing it tomorrow morning, actually. I'm off tomorrow. Go figure. A rare Friday off that I have. So I'm
oh,
actually going to go
nice,
see Send Help in the morning.
cool. And then yeah, I guess with that, is there anything you guys have done for shows since we last recorded that you want to get out there?
Yeah, just the one. We did finally get together to record Creature Comforts episode 46. On that one, we take a look at the absolutely insane Godzilla movie, Godzilla Final Wars from 2004. Again, if you know, you know. If you're a Godzilla fan, you know about Final Wars. You know all the controversies, all the silliness, all the everything about the film. But did we enjoy it? You'll have to tune in to find out. That episode will be available probably early next week sometime. It is. I did finish editing it, but if I send it to our network head tomorrow, it likely won't get uploaded until Monday or Tuesday. So I would say um, sometime next week, sometime in the first week of February, it'll be out and available. We did have a really good time talking about that movie. A couple of us actually love the movie, go figure, but I'll leave that to for you guys to find out on the episode. And that's pretty much it. Unfortunately, the main show got postponed, and that's really all we have. So I'll leave it at that and give it back to Mike.
Yeah, hopefully, because we do have a reschedule for the main show, which is coming up. So hopefully, we don't have to postpone it again. If so, it'll be recorded probably before the next Fresh Cuts. So, what about you, Don? You got anything new?
No, just the latest Creature Comforts. Yeah, all my stuff has been postponed, delayed, or canceled. So that's pretty much all I got.
All right, cool. Yeah, I don't have anything new. So just what's already been announced. Next Fresh Cut, Send Help, and then the main show or what I have on the near future schedule. So with that said, thanks for listening, everybody, and let's say bye to our listeners.
Later.
Don't go back to Silent Hill ever.
Yeah, no more returns, please.
Yeah, please. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention that I actually like the fact that the movie is titled Return to Silent Hill. It's not just an homage to the fact that this is based on Silent Hill 2. It also refers to the director, because for those who don't know, Christoph Gans directed this movie. He also directed the first Silent Hill movie. So I thought that was kind of cool that, we got the same director, even though I hated that movie. It seems like he's gotten better and, maybe he is a little bit more faithful to the source material now. So yeah, kudos,
cool.
Christoph Gans.
Sweet.